Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us sit for meditation, coming into a comfortable position for the meditation practice. Taking a deep breath in, settling into the present, letting go of all else. As you gently guide your attention with determination to be within the present, to observe the in-breath and out-breath, rising at the tip of the nostril, or can be experienced with the expansion and contraction of the diaphragm, chest, abdomen. Let us guide our attention to observe the in-breath, the out-breath, centering oneself within the present, letting go of all stories, view, embracing peace of the moment. The lesser the rising, the more calm and tranquil. Allow the body, the muscle, the mind to ease into the present, putting away for this moment all other responsibilities and duties towards the external world, and giving this time towards the internal, observing the in-breath and out-breath without any attachment, simply observe the rising and ceasing in-breath and out-breath, without any expectation or longing. Allow oneself to experience the present, letting go of the past and future, coming to be stable upon this present. Observe how when we let go of expectation, longing, wanting with regards to the future, the existence of something, the mind and body goes into a state of flux, distracted, going deeper and deeper into the knots of craving, anger, delusion. Let this be a moment where we let go of all those knots and born, coming to touch and experience is present entirely. As it arises, when it ceases, without a remnant caused by craving and clinging. I love the nature of these Dhammas to exist in its own time and cease when they do. And as meditators, we simply observe, observe from thought and mindless wonder. We come into Sati Sampajanya, aware but no thought, just to be within the present, with a rising and ceasing breath. With every passing breath, may the mind and body come into a deeper state of peace and tranquility, reducing, abandoning one's dependence upon greed, hatred, and illusion, and finding liberation within this moment as we gently guide our attention towards a sensation, the sensation which may be observed all throughout the body. Moment to moment, let us guide our attention toward the feet, the leg, the thigh, all below the waist, the lower part of the body. Observing the sensation moment to moment. Observe the nature of sensation, right here, right now, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, all throughout the legs of feet, the places of contact, the points of pressure between the chair and the lower part of the body. Observe this nature of sensation that arise and cease, traveling on this journey with ease, letting go as you observe, observing with letting go. Three-rooted consciousness, alope, adose, amor. Through this consciousness, let us observe without accumulating, abandon. And as you do, the lighter, the more bliss, the more clarity that arises. Gently, gently, guiding one's attention, letting go of the lower part of the body, coming into the mid area, the torso, the shoulder, neck downward, and up from the waist. Observe all the sensation as and when they arise, adverting, observe the nature, constant change, impermanent, observe, observe, moment, moment, being mindful about maintaining the mind with purity, free from the touch of the hindrances, letting go of view, letting go of trying to achieve, to arrive at position, status, even with the meditation. This very moment, let us let go of everything that the self demands for satisfaction. The Vedana that condition our human experience with a deep sense of disattachment, springing from the vision of impermanence as every sensation arises and ceases. Observe, observe, as we go deeper and deeper, breaking apart the compactness of phenomena. Subtle sensation, while they seem to arise in a group, in clusters, through purification of vision, we come to be able to see that it is further divisible. Allow the mind to draw confidence from disattachment, from the lack of greed, the lack of hatred, the lack of delusion. Inspire, touched, and embodying non greed, non hatred, non delusion. Let us grow confident through experiencing, seeing, and knowing what is really of the present, guiding the mind from the Sammuti Pachupanna to Kana Pachupanna, observing the momentary nature, all sensation, all across the mid area of the body. Observe, observe. with every moment spent in this reflection of Vipassana. Draw power from the fact that as we contemplate, we are actively shortening our samsaric journey. The conditions that could further proliferate, all through letting go, moment to moment, being with the object of practice, the sensation, from Pachara to Appana, from one insight to deeper insight. Observe the sensations arising and ceasing, guiding your attention to the head, the face, all above the neck and the neck. Block by block, from the head down to the torso, from the torso down to the lower parts of the body, part by part. Let us observe the sensation, letting go with disattachment, but ever so vigilant and aware of each rising and ceasing, taking every moment with a sense of newness, knowing that when Dhamma ceases, another Dhamma with different conditions arise, clinging, prolong in mind what has already ceased. Let us prolong nothing. Let us allow everything to take its time and toll, accepting the universality of phenomena, with Shraddha in the teacher and the Dhamma, with effort, to be in the present with dedication, with balance. Sati awareness, balancing all indriya, concentration, the ability of being with an object, without boredom, without instability, stable, concentrated, wisdom, the dispeller of hindrances, brighter wisdom shines, the purer the mind becomes. In this moment, let us completely be within the present, with every observation of sensation, seeing how these sensations manifest. But when seen deeply for what they truly are, they are empty, lacking of true core. They arise conditioned not by one but many factors. And all these dhammas, sankhara, sensations that arise, they cease in but a moment. For the sensation to never arise, and in turn creating the influx of mind, craving for sensation must cease. In order to do so, we must let go of seeing self in the object or the mind that observes and simply experience without a doer, arising, ceasing, arising, ceasing, with every rising, the chitta rises and ceases. The chitta is the rising and ceasing. This self, in the same way, is conditioned, observing the Vedana knowing that it is not mine. There is no self in the Vedana, the sensation. Cultivating a sense of equanimity to adore the sensation. Observe, observe, observe. gently as a sensation manifests in their subtle form, minute vibration, arising, ceasing, any and all sensation. Let us contemplate, advert as the Vedana Chaitasika, the mental factor of Vedana. All sensation, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, gently being the nature of one aggregate out of five aggregates, the aggregate of Vedana, arising and ceasing moment to moment. When one clings on to Vedana, as me, myself, and I, seeing self in Vedana, Vedana in self, we proliferate, we cling, we endeavor in samsara, observe the nature of this Vedana Chaitasika, seeing impermanent suffering non-self that is existent in this moment. Observe, observe, gently, observing the natures of impermanence. And as you go deeper, breaking apart the compactness, one realizes that there is no moment without impermanence. There is no moment without suffering. There is no moment with self. Gently, gently, recollecting the aspects of the meditation practice. Observe, see things as they really are. Gently, gently. Gently, gently. With awareness and gratitude for the practice. Gently, gently. Taking a deep breath in, and as you let go of the breath, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, everyone. We have been speaking about avidya and the dependent origination in our other classes. And we've spoken about this, I think, in our previous session of meditation as well. When it comes to the meditation that we did today with the Vedana, this was on the five aggregates. And in coming into Vedana, we use this technique of dividing the body into three parts. Now, we could further this practice by, let us say, if your attention is, it gets quite distracted very fast, you could divide the body into, let us say, two parts, or seeing the body as a whole, and then dividing the body into two parts, then into three, then into four, then into five, then into six, and you go in a manner where, let us say, you go into a smaller portion of awareness over the body. For example, let us say the whole torso and a finger, for example. When you are focused upon a finger, the attention is more focused upon, localized on the finger itself. When your focus is upon the general torso, then it is on a general scope over the body. So there can be so much more sensations across that whole portion. And then you reduce as you find comfortable in the practice in a manner where now the meditator can observe a tiny little portion, a minor, subtle Vedana itself. Hmm? Thus bringing the mind into a state of samadhi just by reducing the size of the object. So from a big size or a gross size into a smaller object. Thus then bringing methodically, systematically bringing the mind into a state of one pointedness over a specific subject. Now, before we go into the discussion of, let us say, Paticcasamuppada And avidya, in particular, in relation to our meditation practice, how was your individual experiences with the meditation? Hmm. Shiroma, would you like to get us started, please?
Um, it went um, the way it went, specific for today.
Mhm.
And um, uh, I was concentrating on the arising, passing nature of, as per your guidance, first with the materiality, and then it shifted to the Vedana skandha.
Mhm.
And then at this periods of silence, I concentrated on the perceptions and also the sankhara. And at the end, actually, I went to the consciousness arising, passing, and then came back to the guidance where everything is arising, passing, that moment to moment. There is nothing but impermanence, dukkha and anatta
Mhm.
in the Shana moment, Shana Pachupanna, because of causes it arises, when the causes pass, it passes. In fact, there is nothing but hollowness there.
Mhm.
Like yesterday was hollow,
Mhm.
tomorrow is hollow. So it's not, you're hollow, I'm hollow.
Now, now, did you start reading on the Chatalis, the book?
Yes, and some of them came to me.
Mm-hmm.
When you were going through like suffering, when the materiality part at the beginning, it took me to really discuss nibbida, letting go of the materiality, internal, external, and then that it had its own momentum and its own equation and its own formula. Materiality, it rises and passes, and so what kind of realization?
Mm-hmm.
So was the Vedana and the Sanya and Sankara, and it was like a total phenomena passing. And what for?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that happening? What for? So came to this avidya, there is an ignorance. And then there's this funny example came to me. Like if you put a blotting paper in water, it's never come to me before, just today it came, and the water seeps through the blotting paper, like water goes up the blotting paper. You can't stop it. And as you were guiding about we are running towards sensations, chasing happiness, wantings, expectations, and wanting something to happen and exist in the future. Those were your very words. Going through those, this blotting paper, thinking, where is this energy that is running, wanting all that? What is that energy that is running, like the water running up the blotting paper? It says energy of its own.
Mm-hmm.
What is propelling that energy, which probably we can call it tanha, is that ignorance of not knowing. So that kind of realizations I had today.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So, when that concluding remark is, for example, for what? Hmm? අර වැඩක් නැහැ කියන එක නේද? මේ the sense of disenchantment that arises. So from that position or position of disenchantment that arises, so now the Buddha's teaching are so what kineka, there has to be a way forward from that so what, because I know this so what This sense of disenchantment often arises to meditators when we observe um, the sense of suffering that is there, the sense of hollowness or the lack of self that is there in a moment. Rutukutta, how do we progress or how do we see beyond the so what or what is in here? Metana මොනවත් නැහනේ. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so what what comes to my mind is that time was like totally like the observer, then totally letting go of even so what, let it be, so what, so let it be, and kind of a calmness,
Hmm.
like a upekka. I don't know whether you, I mean, like a sankara upekka, like that's like the blotting paper, the water is going up, and this because of causality.
Hmm.
So that's it. So the
Hmm.
trees and the sky and the universe,
Hmm.
everything is that
Hmm.
internal, external. There's a
Okay.
phenomenon.
Oh.
So like,
එතට එතන that's it කියන්න විතරක් බෑනේ. That's it.
so like you
Uh,
have, if you are not chasing it,
yes,
if you're not chasing it, you're not part of it.
sure.
So if you're not chasing it, whether it is this way or that way,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter.
Okay, so let's go on that. Okay, let us go on that. If you're not chasing it, okay, then you're not proliferating it. Okay, now we are talking about if you're not chasing it, if you're not chasing it, if I am not chasing it, then I am not proliferating it. Hari. Now, we often in our meditation come into hallmarks like this, junctures where we've had um, a very interesting and let us say enriching experience in the meditation, and we come into this point of course inspired by anicca dukkha anatma, we come into this position of disenchantment, that the conclusion that there's nothing here, that all of this is absolutely vain. Mhm. Now, that is usual. Feeling or having thoughts of that sort is quite usual for a Vipassana meditator. Out of all the other meditations, it is very, very usual for a Vipassana meditator to experience or have. But it is not the end position for us to be in. We also must understand that. So, how do we go when we come into a point where now we've experienced there is suffering in this corner, in that corner, left, right, zenith, under you, above you, all and everywhere, with every arising there is an influx, with every influx there is burden, with every burden there is suffering. Huh? If the slightest amount of tanha rises now, like a fire burning in me, it burns to satisfy the tanha. Isn't it? It burns till it satisfies the tanha. If there is anger that arises, then a certain fire burns till that anger is appeased, till I see results or till I feel satisfaction done to my anger, isn't it? Now, in a similar way, we see the suffering and we come to the fact of, again, all of these things. I see there is suffering everywhere. None of this, there is no core in any of this. There has to be a step further from this. Now, this is an important step that arises, and I'm sure if I'm to ask, there might be other people who have also experienced any sense of disenchantment to with any regard, neither. It can be strong, it can be in the beginning stages, whatever it might be. But from this disenchantment, we must go forward. Remember, to leave us at a depressed state of mind, to leave us at a depressed state of mind is also quite difficult, isn't it? And we know if it is a person under care, we do not leave them in certain in positions like that, right? We don't leave them in positions like that. Now, how do we then offer, let us say, the care that we require and need, the support that we need, in order to transgress this state where I am at a juncture undecided on what I have to do, but with the conclusion of that's it. There's nothing more than this. Uh, um,
Is it like you balance it to bring it forward to Pekka, acceptance that this is so, that is it.
I think when depending on where you are, there are a couple of things that we can do. It is not only one linear path within the Satipatthana because this is often a place that happens. It happens. I mean, it can happen in Chittanupassana, Vedananupassana, Dhammanupassana, and the way that it hits is far more, of course, it varies depending upon how strongly it has hit. ඒ වුණාට what I want to sort of bring out is because this draws perfectly with my cheeky plan for the day for my conversation today, which was the Patijasambhada, which is a great opportunity for us to use this as an example for the Patijasambhada, which is when we arrive at states such as this, what do we do? If you take a step back and see, look at one's own mind, one observes the fact that this kind of then මෙතන යම්කිසි there is a sense of knowing, and there is also a sense of, let us say, conclusion, isn't it? Conclusion නිකන් like you have written a sentence and you have now put a full stop as well. Isn't it? You know it, you've seen it, but there is also this sense of a full stop or an exclamation mark at the end of the sentence, isn't it? Now, this is a very good sign for the yogi to filter out and see the sense of Dhamma and where we can further කුල්ලින් මේ වී හල්නවා වගේ නේද? ඒ වගේ it is a good sign to see මොකද ධර්මය සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම if the Dhamma has profoundly ඒ කියන්නේ smoothly ඔක්කොම හරියටම puzzle එක fit වෙනවා නම් it rolls on smoothly. ඒ කියන්නේ අර ධම්ම මානසිකාරය කිසිම බාධාවක් නැතුව without any encumbrance to the flowing of the river flows. Mm? The river flows. When the river comes to meet with an encumbrance, a big boulder, a big rock, a impermeable wall of a mountain, then it will not flow through it, isn't it? That is where we bring in the teaching on balancing the indriyas. Now, to come into the Paticcasamuppada, do you remember that in the Paticcasamuppada we had this division that was done, which was Kilesavatta, Kammavatta, and Vipakavatta. Kilesavatta, Kammavatta, and Vipakavatta. Do you remember what, if we start with the first one, what Kilesavatta is? Do you remember? මතකද කට්ටියට? Do you remember what the Kilesavatta of the Paticcasamuppada was?
It's the tanha, the middle of it, isn't it, Bhante?
There are three parts.
Yeah. Vidya and Sankara is the Kammavarta. Sankara Sakammavartas, isn't it?
Okay, so Kilesavatta, Kilesha would be one if I would, it would be done in the past. Hence, out of the 12 dependent origination factors, ආ? කියන්න බලන්න ඔක්කොම. ඔක්කොමලාට පොඩ්ඩක් මතක් වෙන්න.
The 12.
ඔව්.
So there's avidya, pacha, sankara.
කෝ අනිත් කට්ටිය? Why are the others silent? දමයන්තිලට මතක නැද්ද? අවිජ්ජා පත්‍ය සංඛාර. ආ?
Par
වෙන
having
මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? අවිජ්ජා පත්‍ය සංඛාර,
Pachya avidya pachya sankara
සංඛාර පත්‍ය
vijnana
විඥාන, විඥාන පත්‍ය
නාම රූප
නාම රූප, නාම රූප පත්‍ය
pachya salyatana
සලආයතන, සලආයතන, සලආයතන පත්‍ය
passa
පස්සෝ, පස්ස පත්‍ය
vedana.
වේදනා.
වේදනා
It
පත්‍ය.
sounds similar. But it's වේදනා. වේදනා පත්‍ය
තණ්හා
tanha
තණ්හා
තණ්හා, තණ්හා පත්‍ය
upadana
උපාදාන, උපාදාන පත්‍ය
භව
භව, භව පත්‍ය
jati
ජාති, ජරා, ශෝක,
ජරා,
පරිදේව, දුක්ඛ,
පස්ස,
දෝමනස්,
උපපටි.
උපායාස. ඒ ටික. Okay. So those are the 12. Now we remember the 12. Hopefully. Out of these 12, out of these 12, there are those factors within these 12 that have been developed through past habit and past influxes. What are they within these? They can past energy, past raw energies, what is flowing?
Avidya.
Nothing of the present this is completely fueled by the past. What is that? There are three. Avidya, Tanha, Upadana. Okay. Avidya, which is ignorance, Tanha, which is craving, and Upadana, which is clinging. Tanha, Avidya, Tanha, Upadana. This is seen as Kileshavatta. Okay? Kileshavatta. Kilesa. Okay? Defilement. The round of defilement. The second one you have to have in mind is called Kamma, the round of Kamma. Okay, the first one to have in mind is Kilesha Vata, the round of defilements, which is of three, Avidya, Tanha, and Upadana. The second one you have to remember in Paticcasamuppada Bhavana is what is Kamma Vata, the round of Kamma. Round of Kamma is what? Now, round of Kamma is down to round of karma is down to the karma itself, meaning the karmic energy that flows. We have two in the karma vata, sankhara and karma bhava.
And
Karma bhava. The karmic process of existence, karma bhava. Karma bhava meaning now, for example, at this moment whilst you're listening to me, your heart is pounding. Your heart, with its activity, pumps blood and keeps you alive. You are breathing, inhaling, exhaling, knowingly or unknowingly, involuntarily, your body continues its function, isn't it? Now, in Buddhist metaphysics, we would know this to be karmic potency, which is, it is the Janaka Karma that is sustaining life. Hence, it is karmic energy, which is like, for example, the Jiviti Indriya, which is in this present moment keeping us alive. The life force, we might name it life force, which may be easier to understand. The life force is a vibration of karmic energy. That karmic energy is owing to the potency of the karma that was done, and now that particular karma has become, let us say, the life force energy which sustains you. Now, whether you listen to me or not, or whether you decide to do whatever else, right at this moment, you are living. You are living because the mind and the body arises codependent on one another. This is pertaining to our condition. If, let us say, we were talking to Arupa beings, then we might not be able to say the same, isn't it? Because the mind and body, their bodies are not codependent upon a mind. So for us, the mind and body is codependent upon one another. That is how we know that we are alive. Okay? When one is alive, there is always a centralized view of self. Meaning, අර ආත්ම සංඥාව කේන්ද්‍ර වෙන ස්ථානයක් තියෙනවා. ආත්ම සංඥාව. It is like the gravitational pull of the earth. So you might be seeing yourself here or between or behind the eyes, maybe thinking that it is the brain or down here. Now, when you see and experience, everything that you see and experience falls into this aggregate, right? The five aggregates. It is because of the central pull, which is inherently the belief, the tanha, the upadana, මේ කිලේශ වත්ත මේක. That essentially what I'm telling you is actually not true. But in the Sammati realm, it is true. It is true because there is avidya, upadana, and tanha. Does that make sense? Meaning, I am sitting here and I'm telling you that self has a central point of focus where it is like a gravitational pull. There's actually nothing like the sort. But it is only because of delusion that it becomes true in the Sammati world. Because, for example, let us say we are sitting in our houses, right? So everything which is considered to be in the house or within the property is by de facto considered yours or mine. In reality, there is no such thing. But in accordance to the Sammati world, that is how we build aggregate. Now, this is what is to be seen, right? The third part, now I will finish that just because then you have that set list. The third part to remember in the in the Parisampada is the Vipakavatta. Is the Vipakavatta. Vipakavatta is the results round. Do you remember what were in this round? Vipakavatte. I have mentioned this to you earlier. We have discussed this. විපාකවත්තේට මොනවද ඇතුල් වෙන්නේ?
තණ්හා,
Jati, Jara,
Bill
Maran,
Tanha
Dukkha.
is in Kileshavatta, remember. Tanha is a Kilesha.
What is Dukkha? Isn't
Sorry.
Jati, Dukkha.
ජාති ජරා මරණ.
Vipaka. So
ජාති
imagine
ජාති
past avidya was done. Because of avidya, kamma was created, meaning sankhara and kamma bhava. Because of sankhara and kamma bhava, what would arise? Mind
ජාති
arises.
ජාති ජරා
Jati
මරණ.
arrives.
Huh?
Jati
නේ mind
ජරා
ජාති ජරා mind එක
Sankara.
එතකොට because
Sankara.
sankhara is the condition which is the karmic energy, right? Because of this karmic energy, what arises as a result of it? Vipaka.
විඥානය
Huh?
විඥානය
Vijnana, consciousness, that's number one. Consciousness, nama rupa. නාම රූප කම්ම බව සංකාරින්ද නාම රූප ඇති වෙනවා. Now, to make it that position more clear, for example, now සංඛාර, we know සංස්කාරය හැදෙනවා කියලා අපි කියනවා නේද? We've always learned avijja paccaya sankhara. So we put sankhara onto a vipaka level, right? Onto a vipaka level in that sense. However, sankhara is on the karma level because imagine when when passa happens, right? Based upon this passa, sabda arise, sound. Now, did you or I choose whether it was sound that was going to arise or whatnot? No, we didn't. The weight of the object created that denseness where sound was now the proliferated or the bigger factor here. That is sankhara. Now, when that sankhara arises, it is based upon this sound that I would say, was that a good sound? Was that an appropriate sound? Was that a bad sound? Was that an agreeable sound? Was that a discouraging sound? Was that a... All of these sankharas in the way that it arises, what it is, based upon that vipakavatta. Vipakavatta. Isn't it? Vipakavatta. Then a sanskara uda, then kamatika, if there is a plate of food inside you, then you would probably draw your chair in, pick up the cutlery or wash your hands, and you would get ready to eat, isn't it? එතකොට සංඛාර විපාක. You won't go in front of the bathtub and get ready to eat. You would go in front of the bathtub and get ready for a bath, isn't it? සංඛාර පච්චය අර විඤ්ඤාණ නාම රූප ඒ ටික ඔක්කොම විපාක ටික. Based upon this sankhara, isn't it? You go in front of a knife and how your hands would raise is in the way to hold the knife. But if you go in front of the blender, then the mind works accordingly so, isn't it? Now, sankhara atuna sankharoda, now the vipaka. Based upon that sankhara, we are working with it. That is why vipaka comes into, vipaka vatta would have the consciousness, the nama rupa, the six sense bases, salayatana, passa and vedana, contact and vedana. But for now, let us focus on the first, which is first avidya. When avidya here arises, avidya, how can we see the avidya that has arisen in a standpoint of that sort? Now, any self that is presumed, is avidya. How do you explain that sentence? If you could elaborate on that back to me.
What's it again?
Because
Bhante?
there is no self, Bhante. So
There is no
there's
self.
no self. So if you assume there is a
There
self,
is no
it is
self.
avidya.
There is no self. However, if we say that this is so, ඒ කියන්නේ ලෝක සම්මතයක් ඉස්සරහට එනවා. A world view comes to the front. Let us say, little girl. A little girl. That is, we know, a samuti. The fact that the girl is big or little, right? So nowadays you don't know. You can't just say, isn't it? They can be so big, but they are quite young. They can be quite small, but they're quite older. How do you know? You don't know. But so then you know it is, first of all, it is a sammuti. Because there is no definite answer. Isn't it? There is no definite answer. Hence it is a sammuti, number one. Two, when there is a presumed identity, a presumed self, there is avidya there. So, whilst the dilemma of whether this is a little girl is in question, the little girl being in existence itself is a manifestation of avidya. How do we understand this in the meditation? The fact that there is no, that object, that individual, that person, that manifestation taken as self, that there is no self. Now, if we go back to Shiroma, what you said, just to work with that example, right? This is it. Right? This is suffering, the callousness. Harayak nati gatiya. Now, in that context, if there is a person, if there
Yes.
is...
That was the question.
Yes, there is a person there.
There is
Who
a...
assumed that?
No, no, this is causality. The seeing the causality is it, is the phenomena that happen. There is no person, there is no seer there. Because it's only the Panchaskandha rising and passing
Mm.
and arising again,
Mm.
happening because of causes of avidya and tanha. That's where the blotting paper came.
Yeah.
See, the water rising in the blotting paper, there was no I there.
Mm.
It was causality.
Mm.
Suddenly that example hit me because of that the phenomena
Yeah.
rising.
Yeah.
So as long as avidya is there, long as avidya is there, tanha is there.
Yes.
As long as tanha is there, that phenomena will go.
Mm.
Causality will go.
Mm.
You see? So that is what is happening right now.
Mm.
The whole of Paticca actually you brought the Paticcasamuppada into it. I didn't have that in the meditation.
Mm.
But another thing that arose to me when you were saying about the past kilesas coming, the two factors, two energies working, is like, say, somebody before death, there is an I there, that is avidya, and not knowing there is no I.
Mm.
So this person not knowing there is no I in
Mm.
avidya, it
Mm.
wishes for more tanha through the ear and the tongue and the eyes and the six sense bases, more tanha, more, I want more, the wanting,
Mm.
and dies. So from there, this birth, we are bringing from past birth to this birth, the ignorance and the tanha
Yeah.
and the upadana. I got that very beautifully, because when you die, that I want, I haven't I haven't seen enough. I haven't tasted enough. I want more. I haven't heard beautiful sounds enough. I want more. That is what comes to the next birth as a wanting, like the tanha in the blotting paper, creating the next birth, creating all those the circumstances, and the avidya goes and latches onto it and makes my
Well,
flesh.
sure. Yeah. That is all right. Evanata, now, when we come into a juncture of, we must understand, it can start purely okay, but in the arising itself is the issue.
Yeah,
There can't be an arising, and for a person to say that this arising has no avijja. No, it does.
it does.
It
Yeah,
does.
arising is because of
Is
avidya and
because of
tanha.
the arising itself is because, and the karmic potency and the support that it has is the
Yeah,
kilesa
avidya.
bhakta.
Yeah.
Is
So
the
hence
kilesa bhakta.
hence it flows from one birth to the other birth, avidya pacha sankara, unless you see the stopping of the arising.
How do we now? How do we, when we go on a journey, right? When we go on a journey, how do we know that we've arrived or gone the distance that we have to go? Let us say, you say Carlisle is 300 miles to the north. When you would say so, and you're driving 300 miles to the north, but how do you know? You know through signs that you take. Now,
Yeah,
when the meditator experiences, now at the end, remember, this is not an easy thing to do, no manure, right? It is not as easy as speaking, because remember, we are used to collecting things in buckets for ourselves, right? That is who we are. That is the basis of why we breathe. That is where the life force and Janaka Karma comes from. Because in Sansara, we've collected and accumulated things into buckets and had even the audacity to write our name on this bucket, right? So now we are living out of these buckets that we've sort of had this sort of karmic potency from. So avidya will always arise, and hence, as we experience suffering, remember, just like in mundane terms, when we experience acute suffering, Let it be with a person or a circumstance or a place of work or a country or an institution, then we come into a place of disgust and we try to get away from it, isn't it? Right? Where you're so hurt with something that you just want to get away from it. In the same manner, this is what happens when you see suffering in this moment. When you see the hollow, the empty nature of this moment, you want to get away from it. Hmm? Imagine like it's as if you sort of you soiled your hands with fish or some smelly sort of condiment or whatnot, and you want to quickly wash it off before you contaminate anything else. You want to get rid of it.
Actually, until there, you have, I feel it's like that you come to an acceptance,
Yes.
not getting away from it.
That acceptance is when you
Yes,
reach a certain sense of equanimity toward
absolutely.
formations.
Yes, then you
Huh?
get that upekkha where you understood and huge amount of suffering has dropped
Yes.
because you accepted it, and that you accept that this is it.
This is it.
This is the
However,
phenomena that,
beyond that suffering, now for the
yeah,
Sotapanna Sakutagami Anagami or for the mundane Sotapanna Sakutagami Anagami, the suffering that they would see is not in line with the suffering the Arahat would see.
yeah,
The
it's a
Arahat
much
would be
deeper.
because the scope and the vision and what is seen and experienced is far more deeper. So when we come into those halls of, let us say, wanting to shed or coming into a position where we've seen all this suffering, but now that full stop that comes after that suffering because of the Sankhara Upeka becoming stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, now, yes, there is suffering, however, no emotion follows it. Yes, there is suffering, but no emotion follows it. Right? Just it is almost as if a person who we awaited passing away, we just now received the news of their passing. We knew it. It was happening. It was like being on a timer. It was about to happen any time. And we get the news about it happening. In that same manner, when we experience whatever that we do with the samadhitvi that we have, the suffering that arises at every juncture, you will come into this issue. At that time, you must see that the person experience, if there is a mirror for a reflection to fall on, that mirror being there is also avijja. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That mirror. So then there is no reflection that appears of the Dhamma upon as a sankhara. There is no sankhara that appears. Because there is no sankhara, there is no dukkha,
There's no proliferation then.
no proliferation. Hence, that juncture, we have to see that juncture as avijjataya. Meaning, any Dhamma that you feel is, let us say, there is a Dhamma. And to understand this Dhamma, to understand it, we bring out another example, let us say through thought, another sort of a frame to understand this. That frame is also avijja, thinking that this experience is also absolute, is also avijja. So you can imagine the
Hmm.
subtlety. The object manifesting and us taking the object as absolute and is there is also avijja. The person who thinks or is taking this, that person taking it or arising is also avijja.
So that will go when Asmimana disappears, I guess. Because until then, Asmimana is that sense of I, the deepest,
Listen,
at Arahat level.
you could have a demon trapped in your house. Doesn't mean that you need to have this demon walking in your living room. Do you get what I mean? we can lock it in
Yeah,
the basement.
yeah.
You can lock it in the basement. You don't have to have it running aloof in your house. Just like if you would own a pet, isn't it? You don't have to have it. You can, but you can always have it in a pen as well. The same thing. Because we can say Asmiman at this level, at this level, at this level. But the thing is, if I have no inclination, then that is not relevant.
Mm.
Then that is not relevant if the condition does not arise. Hence, whenever that there is a reflection where this person is experiencing that suffering that is seen, that arises in this moment, that suffering, the person, the reflection, the object on which that suffering reflects is also avidya. Thinking that this dukkha, that this suffering persists and has a self on its own is also avidya.
Mm.
Mm. Now, if we would take an example, let us say something happened in office or something like that, uh, or with a group of friends that you've seen over the week, and you are wondering at this moment what they might be thinking, right? What is happening. But avidya, in that case, where is the avidya?
The whole thing, the thinking of
The whole thing.
yesterday, whole thing is avidya, thinking
The
there was
whole
a
thing is
yesterday,
avidya.
there was a me there were friends there. The whole scenario is not a momentary passing.
Okay, so we have to see three things.
Mm.
We have to see one, avidya. We
Yeah,
have to see two, we have to see craving. And three, we have to see clinging. Okay.
yeah.
Now,
Bante,
yes.
dear here, Bante, just to ask you, that's why, Bante, I said in the dependent origination, that after the tanha, there is clinging there, tanha upadana before bhava. When I mentioned when we were going to at the beginning, Salyadana, Passa, Vedana, Tanha, Upadana, and Bhava.
Yeah.
That's what you're referring to, that you can't say there's no Upadana. From Tanha, it doesn't go to Bhava, Bhante. The 12 links that is there, that's one. And the second thing...
Okay, first of all, let me clarify that.
Yeah.
When we divide into Kilesavatta, Kammavatta, and the Vipakavatta, right? It is not on the same grounding that we are going on the same flow of the links. Number one, this is clearly made visual on Mogokseado's Paticcasamuppada, which I've already shared, right? What the links are, right? Now, when it comes to Kilesha Vatta, the round of Kileshas, we are talking about things that we have done in the past that have become habitual, like anushas and latent tendencies. These sorts of things that are in our karmic, or let us say potential, near potential. Okay, so let us say whatever crafts or whatever beings that you had earlier experiences, those manifest into now. Now that is Kileshavatta. In the Kileshavatta, there is no bhava, right? Because it is Kilesha, because this is a different categorization according to the meditation practice, how we experience it. Okay, so the five aggregates in that manner, if we approach it in this manner, the five aggregates has a past cause, a present continuous, which is the fact of sankharas and karma, which is present and it's continuous. And because of this, there is a vipaka that arises. These three categories has the seeing of these three in the way that they perform or become or are cause and effect is Paticcasamuppada Bhavana. So the 12 links that you see This is the way that you approach those 12 links. Because remember, Soka Parideva Dukkha Domanasa Upayasa, all of that is conditional upon what is of the now.
Mm.
You might be going through Soka Parideva Dukkha Domanasa Upayasa right now.
Mhm.
However, the Soka Parideva Dukkha Domanasa of the future is far greater than the Soka Parideva Dukkha Domanasa of this moment.
Mhm.
Right? Of this moment.
Mhm.
Hence, whatever suffering that one might be going through, the Buddha always says the suffering of the moment is far more less in comparison to the suffering of the future.
Mhm.
The suffering that is to come.
Mhm.
That is why none of those Soka Parideva Dukkha Domanasa, those parts are in this contemplation because it's nothing to contemplate.
Yeah.
Soka Parideva Dukkha Domanasa Upayasa, these things conditionally to understand we do go through these things as we age, as we go through life. But Vipassana particularly is on the condition of the now.
Mhm.
Tanha when it's arising, avidya when it's arising, because those are the places, the significant places that we are blinded, right? Blinded for that moment. Hence, we think, for example, um, the anicca dukkha svabhava of the world is blindly taken as this burden that is of the now, for example, let us say.
Mhm.
These are things that happen, isn't it?
Mhm.
These are things that very much happen.
Yes.
In anicca contemplation, selfless bhav meditations, isn't it? There is a certain, and that is because of that avidya that arises again. Now we were trying to remove the aggregate,
Mhm.
but it fell into the aggregate. Meaning, I saw me, myself, and I in the pain, or the pain was there a part of me, myself, and I in me, like you're walking around with a festering cancer. දැන් මේක දැන් මේ කැන්සර් එක ඇඟේ ඇතුලේ තියෙනවා නම් if this is eating in me right now, there is a sense of how can I say
Pain and
unsettledness, isn't it? uh, it is almost as if you have put, yeah, in the olden days, you put money in pots and you hide it on top of roofs, right? And then when you hear the rats going about, you get very antsy. You get very antsy when the rats are running about because you're thinking, what about the money in the pots? In the same way, when something that is so cherished and loved and seen as a core of self is now having this thing eating at it in the inside, it's going to create that sense of anxiety.
Mhm.
That is where this teaching comes to say the potential for that anxiety to arise a condition එක ගලවනවා.
Mhm.
You remove that condition. How? When you come into that hallmark, and you definitely will if you're doing Vipassana, you will not take that, you will train yourself to not take that pain as your pain, or to not think that all of that suffering is right in you right now. It is, but we don't take it with a self. Why? Because then it is almost as if you have a cancer.
Bhante, is it like that story with the two arrows where the first arrow comes and goes, but the Ratan ones will be not taking it like that, while others will try to dismiss it? Can you relate that to this incident, Bhante?
You can very well relate to this, because that is avijja itself.
Yeah.
The Ratan
Yep.
Vahanse Samaditi
Yeah.
and what that
Yeah.
person does not see. But
Yeah.
coming back, ignorant, if we are to take, let us say, a beautiful monk preaching Dhamma wonderfully, right? Now, you take this image, for example. Now, let us say, tell me this is the example, the image of a monk preaching Dhamma wonderfully, right? It's all very delightful and wonderful, right? Right? Now, you tell me, right? This is your time now. Tell me what is avijja here. Now, imagine you are meditating, you're in deep meditation, and this image comes, a monk preaching Dhamma or meditating or whatnot, right? Now, what is avijja?
And there's a beautiful monk there, and then there's you listening. listening to that and thinking about it. So both sides, there's avijja there.
Avijja. So
Mm.
avijja, listen, you have to be this is samadhi exercise. Through this, what happens is you let go of hindrances, the mind comes to a deeper state of calm. So it has to be very direct. It is like one of those sort of acute machinery that does very sort of very accurate machinery, something like that, where you have to directly see it at the cause. This would get rid of the potential for confusion to arise in the meditation. So, avidya is not concerning the Vedana or the beauty. Avidya is concerning self. The fact that there is someone as a monk is avidya. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to give you another example. Let us say, will my dog die? This is the thought. This is the thought that arises. Will my dog die? What is the avidya? Damayanti? What is the avidya?
Thinking that there is a dog, and also my bird that belongs
Sorry,
to me.
again.
Thinking that there is a dog as well is avijja, and
Hari.
saying my is avijja.
Okay,
There is no me, and there is no dog. So you are trying to
sure.
create things out of avijja.
Hari. Now, the first sentence, the dog, isn't it? Thinking that there is something as a dog is avidya. 100% right. Then that is your answer, right? That is avidya. Now you have two more, right? Let's go back to the Buddhist monk. You have now craving. You have to now tell me craving and clinging. Okay? Craving and clinging. Tanha and upadana. What is tanha here? We are going to the example of the Buddhist monk. You're meditating, you have this image of a monk meditating or whatnot, all very delightful and wonderful. You said avidya was thinking that there is actually someone as a monk is avidya. Monk truly exists is avidya. Okay? Now tell me, in that case, what is tanha?
That is beautiful.
That is beautiful. Can we speak a little bit more? Why would one think?
Because you like the form and things, so there is some craving to that particular way that monk looks. Is resonating with something of a past experience or whatever that you have liked and you're familiar with, and therefore there you say domanassa කියන්නද.
Okay, wonderful. Now, Dil, you said there is a sense of resonance. There's a sense of calmness. And of course it is, isn't it? When you see people worshipping, when you see people meditating, when you see people, there's a sense of calmness, even if it is a monk or not. That resonates with you if you're into that sort of thing, isn't it? Now, our goal here is to track on, clearly understand avijja, tanha, upadana. So here, let us say the calm features of this monk, right? There was a sense of resonance and longing, that connection that came with these calm features. Could you relate to that? Would you relate to that? If you saw, let us say, a Buddha in meditation or a monk in serene meditation in your meditation practice, and you're sort of, this is sort of connecting you, and you're feeling that sense of connection there, that sense of desire. Do you see the desire that arises? Do you see it?
Yes.
That subtle desire that arises, even for the may I be as calm as this, or may I be in this profound state, or may I be like this, or whatever that sense of desire and resonance that occurs. Do you see it?
Yeah.
That's craving.
Yeah.
That's tanha. Okay? That sense of that sense of where That is what we are connecting to. So every image, every sound, every smell, taste, feeling, whatnot would have this expression. And then you have one last thing to tell me. You have clinging to judge. Now we have done ignorance, we have done craving, tanha, and now it's time for clinging. What is clinging here? Mhm.
If you didn't have clinging, Bhante, then you wouldn't have said there was no somanasa, you're not calm and things, because by then you would have discussed, you will tend to relinquish it, or disenchantment. So,
Okay, clinging
yeah,
to upadana.
yeah.
And what do we know as a difference between tanha and upadana?
Tanha is that you're having this feeling that of attraction to it, tanha to it, right? That you have, you can say just tanha, but you can also use in English, like you use other terms as, let's say, abhijay, that whole thing,
Greed, a
covetousness.
simple greed,
But
like
in
greed.
the whole of abhijay, covetousness, avarice, all these are words for tanha. But then when you go beyond that you've already seen it, and now you've gone latched onto it. It's not only something at that end. You've gone beyond that state to latch on and actually picked it up. You're clinging. So you can either use grasping or clinging. Both those words are used for this upadana state. The
Now,
step more deeper down.
Absolutely. If I may, I just got this very funny example in my head. Those olden vehicles, when people get married, those days, they used to put these cans of tins behind the cars with the strings.
Yes.
With the just married. So, clinging, clinging is like the hook that hooks onto the car. And to this hook, of course, you will have all these tin cans, all of that. The tin cans that are being sprung behind this car is the craving. The tin cans that are being sprung behind is the craving. The clinging that arises and the craving that arises.
Is it wanting, Bhante? Is it the word wanting also will explain it?
Tanha,
Wanting to.
sadhana. Craving and clinging. Where would wanting fit? Which one did you say wanting to?
Craving. Craving is only wanting, because clinging is grasping. Different.
Yes, still. So wanting would come on to the craving, and the grasping, the clinging, that is the upadana. That is the upadana there. So when you took a liking to that image of the blissful monk meditating, there was a sense of resonance. There was a sense of craving in wanting to be or come into that state. Wanting. The
Question that.
clinging, one moment. Clinging is the attachment that arises to that state. This is where you are if you put your hand out and hold it, and now you're not letting go, right? Now you've clung on to it, grasped it with your hand, you're not letting go, right? You're not letting go. And now your body might be, whatever might be else happening to your body because you held on to this. That whatever that happens in the body, that's all that is what I will do to cling. අර අත දාලා ආපහු දෙවෙනි අතකින් උත් අල්ල ගන්න හරි නේද? What you would
කොහොල්ල බබා කියලා කියනවා.
sorry.
කොහොල්ල බබා කියන්නේ අර අපි ඉස්සර පන්තේ අර හදලා මේ කොහොල්ල
අපි
බබාව
ඉස්සර
ඇල්ලුවාම
කියන්නේ Shiroma, we come from two very different generations.
අපි කොහොල්ල බබා අහලා තියෙන්නේ නැද්ද බන්ති කොහොල්ල බබා
Is this
කොහොල්ල වලින් බබේ
cola on your hands?
you get stuck, you can't pull it back once you touch it, You grasp it and then you're clung to it and then you can't. And then there's this other story about the monkey who puts a hand into something, grasps something,
Okay,
and
let's actually take that example of the cola. What is this? This is a jackfruit tree, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the jackfruit tree. Just imagine that's a good example for craving and clinging. You want
Take that arm out and you put the
you
other
want
one.
the meat, isn't it? You want the meat, which is the jackfruit meat. Huh? That is, you've decided I want this, or I want to cook this. I'm going to prepare this for lunch or dinner or whatnot. And now you're struggling with let us say you're not a very experienced cook. You don't know about all the tricks and all of that, right? So now you're trying to struggle to, that is the craving. Huh? You're researching, you're struggling with it, you're trying to open it, you're trying to do all of these things to it. That's the craving. But in your mind, you've already decided, I'm going to make this for lunch. That's the clinging, the grasping. You see, I'm going to make this for lunch. So you've taken it, it's in front of you, and you're now stuck with the coal and you're battling it out with this fruit. The active process of battling it out, wanting, craving. But in the mind, I want this on the table for lunch. I'm going to serve this. That is the attachment that arises based on this sankhara to say, I want this. This is me. This is what outcome I desire. But everything else that you do to now get that outcome, which is struggling with this gluish thing and all of that, is what you do to get to where you've clung to be in that position that you've grasped onto, which is the fact of I'm going to serve jackfruit for dinner or lunch. Makes more sense?
Bante,
Yes.
there is always another thing. The experienced one who knows to cut the jackfruit and who will know how to not get the glue stuck into their hands will get around it and make the nice jackfruit curry. So,
Yeah.
how do you explain that?
Well, whatever. Now, you might be experienced and you might know how to deal with the jackfruit, right? Which is absolutely fine, very well. However, even at that moment, if you are taking or looking at it from the basis of avidya and this, the jackfruit, the meal, the taste of the jackfruit, and this is how jackfruit tastes. That is particularly why we make a particular dish, no, for the particular way that it tastes. But that taste being permanent is the way that we cling.
Yes.
Taking that position as permanent is where we cling. Taking that as me, myself, and I is where we cling. In now the cause and effect conditionality being seen, now the first one is avidya, tanha, upadana. Now you will realize, even if you close your eyes at this very moment and you're just simply listening to me, every object that arises and you understanding every word that I'm saying, you're understanding it with avidya. You are understanding it because of avidya. Why?
why?
Why? Because it is because we have regulated into a samuti experience. As long as a samuti experience is reapplied, to reapply it, it is avidya. How else do we operate? If there is no right and left, and we need to make a right, you're using that wisdom, but according to the Buddha's wisdom, how we don't get entrapped in it is another practice, isn't it? Whilst you are with the moment but not getting entrapped. But really, every moment that you go deeper into the Kamaloka, the greater the hold Avijja has on you. There is really no question. The more that we go on to the Kamaloka, the more grab it will have on you. The lesser that we go, the less the grab would be. But some people are so daring, isn't it? Some people are so daring, right? Now that is the first section of avijja, tanha, and upadana.
Bhante, can I
That
just
yes,
quick
did
thing? That is why Kama Sugati is the Rupa Vachara words you include. But Sugati, but you don't include the Rupa Vachara words, you don't the Brahma. Those words where there is no body,
no. Now
don't
those words have nothing to do with us. It
yes,
has
yes,
we are not discussing those words because it has nothing to do with us at this moment.
right. Then the
So
other thing,
let us think about. However,
yeah,
However, if we are going to think of it as a lesson, a
yeah,
theoretical lesson,
yeah,
then we can see avijja,
yeah.
tanha, upadana manifested in all the worlds, arupa, rupa, and kamaloka.
Ah,
We can. We
ah,
can.
okay, Bhante. Thank you
Mm.
very
Actually, devas and brahmas, they're quite good at it because they have very penetrative wisdom. They have very penetrative wisdom. So this comes down to at any moment, let us say you feel as if you're not doing very well in your meditation, or let us say you feel a bit down with your progress and practice. You feel down. You feel that you're not performing well because of self. That sense of good and bad exists in terms of, oh, am I doing well or not, or even past trauma, even things that you hold on to or cling on to or choose to condition yourself by absolutely voluntarily because you are reminded of it again and again or whatnot. All of these things are because of avidya. The avidya is not letting you see that the past is in the past and that you are completely different now. The avidya is not letting you see and all the different facets of conditions or different ways of thought that might allow you peace in this very moment. It is because of the avidya that we choose to continuously give things, people, or things energy, constant energy, when we don't need to. Mm. It is because of, for example, if you have take something like a messiah complex, where you feel like a messiah complex or a savior complex, where you feel like you have to always sort of do, and it is through that doing that you sort of get, at least for your happiness. When you shift your way of perception, all of that disappears. You just have to shift. When you realize that there is no doer, hence me doing is not going to please anything, right? Then you stop doing. But we realize more and more people, it's getting more and more difficult with people saying that they are unable to stop doing because this is what we are programmed to be. Huh? I mean, take a look at all the diagnosis of ADHD. It's running through the roof. Everyone has ADHD now. It is everyone everyone has ADHD now because they're unable to sort of narrow down and think on thought. Mhm. Narrow down and thought. The Vipassana helps us to not take these things personally. That is so important because you cannot take on the burden of the world on your shoulders. We must let go, let go. If anything, we don't become someone, we become no one, isn't it? We don't become someone, we are trying to become no one because no one can't be hurt. Is not going to be expressing going through any downfall or rise because there are no ones. This body is but a vessel. We care for it, we take care of it just like we take care of our houses, our cars. Actually, you might be taking care of your houses and cars far better than you're taking care of your body, to think of it. May right? But this is simply just a vessel. In realizing that every moment that you think that this is true, it causes an impediment in your mind, which is it's like another boundary. It's like another boundary keeping you from your authentic and genuine self connecting to that reality. Connecting to that reality. When you're not in that genuine, authentic place, then it's a whole lot of facades, trying to again get reach. In letting go of those positions, we find peace and tranquility. Hmm? So we will leave the rest to discuss on a later date. But keep these things in mind and try to see it in your own meditation. When you experience or when you have certain thoughts arising, you remember certain things, practice. Ameka avidyava neda. This person said this to me. That person thinking that that person කියලා කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා කියන එකම අවිද්‍යාවක්. Thinking that there is actually a person like that actually there and that person actually did it is a lie. That person had so many conditions. That person may have so many conditions and conditioned that person may have done it. But conditioned, you can't put the blame on one thing. Just like we look at our lives, and in the same way, we view the internal and external. Internal, external. ඒක හරිම ලේසි. For example, let us say you look at you're dealing with hatred or something from the external world, right? And it's very difficult for you to place it. You're being, it is almost as if you're the punching bag. You're the punching bag because you're receiving all of this negativity. And then maybe for no apparent reason that you see. But then you see yourself in this position of how you're going through or how you put out hatred or how the mind works. And when you accept the potential of what this person is able to do, then that person doing it is not a surprise. That person doing it is not a surprise. මෙන්න මෙතන, if this possibility is here, then that possibility is surely there. So there is no surprise. Internal, external. Internal mind, external mind. When you see the internal mind for the fact that now we see in our lives good and bad. In the same way, when we do good, we are happy about it and we appreciate and love the fact when other people also sort of congratulate us and pat us on the back and, because of whatnot. And when we do bad things or when bad things happen, and then how that manifests in that way. And how our mind would want forgiveness and all of these things, internal, external. Now, the values that you have internal reflects the external. Now, everything that is done in the external world, the same way. What I expect for myself, I manifest in the external world. Which is the fact that if I don't expect this out of me, I'm not expecting this out of that other person who is not even me. Internal, external. So when through the Vipassana you see there are 54 kinds of rupa that you see at the heart base before you actually are able to see the Patisamuppada in the best way possible. Meaning when you are constricted to the position where the heart arises, meaning the heart base, because everything is in the heart base, right? Then you're like a watchman, and every arising that takes place in the heart base, you realize every arising comes dependent upon a sankhara. And this need to arise, like this energy, like a tsunami coming from the ocean, comes because that force is possible. That force is there where avidya, tanha, upadana. Then imagine when we do things, let's say when you're doing things with force, දත් මිටි කාලා අත්ත මිටි මොලවකන නේද? ඔවගේ දේවල් කරනට there is force there. That force is what propels it. That force is what we experience. Understanding that cause and effect relationship is where that nature of self disappears. You have to give yourself time. You have to give yourself time to heal and rest, recuperate, energize. Energize. Man, these, it really, comes down to, it really does come down to how deeply you connect to these things. So, for example, going on retreat, taking time off, maybe going to Amaravati if you're here, if you're going to Amaravati or Chithurst or, places like this, really does help us, or in other ways, parks or whatnot, or other retreat centers, whatnot. I think these things really help us to sort of recalibrate and to sort of re-energize, refocus, and to realize when we have a lot of dhamma also going on, everyone is saying so many things, but when we really rest and recalibrate, we realize that everyone is saying the same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing, but
Right.
of course,
Yes.
nuance, details, and dewdrops we have to know how to relate and maneuver our mind forward. Projecting
Then,
what is truly important to me. What is important to me? Is peace that is important? Is it the fact of letting go of anger or letting go of greed that is important to me at this time? Uh, is it
Sadhu,
about
sadhu, sadhu, Bhante.
is it about recovering from pain or recovering from all the things that we've been unable to do, for example? Hmm? All of these things are at the end of the day Vedanas. Other people tell us, oh, I've had these sorts of Vedanas, and this is Shah, and this is Ba, and this is this. And then we think, oh, but my Vedana is this and that and this, and all of this are a hallucination of Vedana. And in seeing that they are a hallucination of Vedanas, it is based upon that Vedana that we have developed almost everything that we know in this aggregate. Because our parents have to, you think about it, this knowledge that we get as well, right? This knowledge that we get as well, through reading or through books or things that our parents might have taught, none of it, if you think, none of it is yours. Almost, I think, of course, if you are no, actually, if you really think, everything that you know through condition arose through other people's support. ABCs, someone taught you 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, isn't it?
Right.
How to walk, how to stand, how to sit, how to say hello. You must say thank you must say sorry. All of these things from the get-go. All of what we have is simply just another condition. Hence, what are we egotistical about in our holding? Actually, you realize there is nothing to be egotistical about as well, because that is the best way when you have access, but you don't have to own it, isn't it? You don't have to own it.
If you have nothing, you have everything.
You get the dividends, but not you don't have to run the company, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're just fine with the dividends. You don't want to run the company. Mm? And you're just fine with the fact of it's right in that understanding, whatever being humble upon this realization is a factor, whatever that comes, I'm no special than anyone else. If you're thinking, why did this pain happen? Why did this thing happen to me? Well, why are you thinking that? Why should it happen to anyone else? Why should it happen to anyone else other than you? Right? Because at this moment, that is the sheer acceptance. And we do find positions that give us such confidence to make these strides in our practice. Always, always, when the mind is busy, just take a deep breath, take a break, recalibrate, rethink, re energize, and come back to it. Never fall. Always rise like a phoenix, isn't it? Maybe with some pageantry as well for added flair. So I'm going to leave you with that, everyone, for today. With avidya, tanha, and clinging. With avidya, tanha, and clinging. For you to contemplate and for you to also think, to enforce it, especially during times of sickness. This becomes very useful because sickness happens to you. But when you are able to take away that mirror, that avidya that reflects it onto you, then it happens to no one. Then it becomes easier for us to go through it. Easier for us to go through it. So these techniques, they come from the profound wisdom of Buddhas. These parts of teachings are called Avijita Deshanas, that our Deshanas are taught by all Buddhas that arise.
Mm.
All.
Mm.
There can be sutras that are not preached by Buddhas at all, but these kinds of doctrine is the core of the Buddha's
Mm.
teaching and practice. And I hope that it resonates to you in every way possible. So I'm going to leave you with that, everyone. And okkumnata teruwan saranai.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Everyone
sadhu.
sarana.
Everyone
Sarana,
sarana.
Sarana,
Sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.